Ebony. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
How's your day been?
It's been all right. It's been a quiet one. Just helping, just doing home stuff really. So,
Okay, home stuff.
yeah.
Is that what you call it?
Well, more to do with just like housework and stuff like that. So it's been a nice, relaxing day.
Oh, good. That makes a change, right?
Yeah, it does.
Okay, so I'm going to be asking you a few questions about yourself. You're going to tell it all today,
All right, here we go. Yeah.
Okay. Tell us your full name.
My name is Ebony Kingston. And I'm 48 years old, and I was born.
Looking good.
Thank you. I know people say to me, "You don't look your age." Black don't cry. But yeah, I'm 48 years old. I was born in London, raised in London. As much as I've been to other countries, I've only ever lived in England.
But what is your nationality?
My nationality is British.
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 You're not from Jamaican heritage?
My mother's Jamaican, and my late father was from Guyana.
Okay,
Yeah.
good mixture.
Yeah, common mix, but yeah.
Okay, so how long have you lived here in England?
All my life, I was born here, bred here, and as I say, I've been to like various countries, travelled around, but I've always lived here. I've never lived anywhere else. So, but yeah, I've always lived here, always lived in London.
Okay, so what do you do as a profession?
I work for London Underground. I won't say where, but yeah, I work for London Underground. I've been doing that coming up 9 years now. So I've been with the company since 2015. So it's coming up 9 years. So I've been doing that. I'm a station supervisor. I've been doing that particular role for coming up 6 years. Before that, I was an assistant, a customer service assistant that moved around a lot. But yeah, I've been with the company 9 years, and it's been eventful, and it's been an achievement to get promotion. And yeah, I do enjoy my job, particularly where I work, with the area in which I work.
Okay.
Yeah.
So have you experienced any prejudices, color prejudices, racism or anything like that during your time at your job?
There have been a couple of occasions. I won't say the station of where I was working, but the field in which I work in is rail, and dangerous things can happen to people if they're not careful. Okay, and if somebody has decided to walk across a track to get to the other side, to get to the other platform, as opposed to taking the correct route, which is the way out, then I'm gonna get upset, because I don't want anybody to get electrocuted or get hit by a train. And because I was very worried about this particular individual, I asked, well, why did you do that? Why didn't you go the way out? And am I allowed to say exactly what he said? He said, "F off, you black bastard," and I'm like, oh, I'm going to report you. I mean, I think that, had it been outside of the job, it would have been a different case, because I have to remain professional.
That's right.
When I'm at work. But during my life, I mean, I've done jobs where, I've been a civil enforcement officer. Most people call them traffic wardens. There is a difference, but yeah, I've issued parking tickets. I've had racism thrown at me because of my job. In actual fact, no, it's not because of my job.
So it was not to do with your colour?
No, I would say it's to do with my colour, but people will use my job as a means to actually bring my colour into it. Okay, and I'm thinking, well, if these people are going to use my colour, then these people are like that anyway. Because if you're angry at the fact that, I've done something wrong, I've done something that you don't like, or I've said something you don't agree with, then, and you're going to call me names, that's one thing. But to bring my ethnicity into it, yeah, you need to look at yourself, basically. So,
So,
but
so, so
yeah.
how do you handle situations like that?
I get really angry. Obviously, not in a work setting, but if I'm honest, the first thing that I think of is lashing out at people because I don't tolerate it. You know, I don't see why I should be penalised because of the colour of my skin, because you don't like something, because you don't like my opinion.
None of us do we?
Yeah,
Really?
exactly. If I have a difference of opinion to you, or if I do something wrong, or I say something that's wrong, or I've said something that may have caused offence, not in a racist way, but because I don't do racism, but because I don't fight racism with racism. And I think racism is something. Racism comes in different forms. It's not just the verbal, and it's not just attacking. It's also the way people are around you. There's subtleties that in the things that people do, the way they look at you, the way they don't look at you, the way they talk to you, the tone in which they talk to you. These things
Relay a message.
they do relay a message, and a lot of people, I guess, don't really understand those subtleties. And I've had that all my life. I don't get it every day. I genuinely and generally know when people are talking to me, and there isn't that subtlety. But when it happens, I know that it's because of my ethnicity.
So, how do you think the best way to handle these racism and prejudices because of your color? What advice would you give to others?
Ignoring it is easier said than done. But unfortunately, we're in a position where, if we retaliate, then we're seen as the perpetrators. So the only thing that I can suggest is you can either ignore it, choose to ignore it, or you can choose to speak to them in a way that it makes them look at themselves, because they're going to turn around and say, "Oh, I'm not racist. I'm not racist. My best friend's black." That doesn't stop you from being racist.
Right.
So those are the two things that I would suggest. If possible, get it on camera, report it. I know that people can be arrested for that now in this day and age. Is it a jailable offence? You're wasting jail space. You can expose these people in the best way possible. The same way that people are racist online, that they use that laptop or tablet or computer to do the finger, the warrior, the keyboard warrior action, and expose them. Really, expose them as much as possible, because they don't have the. Well, they can say what they want, but then there should be consequences in what they do.
But there isn't always the consequences.
There isn't always consequences, and unfortunately, people are defended. People do say, "Oh, well, maybe he said." Don't try and gaslight me, because whenever these things happen, not all the time, I'm pleased to say, but there are times when I've been spoken about and people have been gaslit, and it's like, well, I'm the one that's the victim here. That's the perpetrator. Why are you defending them? And unfortunately, it's not. I would say that that there are people of all colours that do the defending of the perpetrator. It's not just a white person thing or a black person thing or an Asian person thing. There are people of all colours who will defend that nonsense.
Depends on the person and their character.
It depends on how well the person knows the perpetrator. Depends on whether or not they went to school with them, work with them, think that they know them well enough to say, well, actually he or she is not like that. So yeah, you get a lot of that. But
Anyhow.
Yeah.
Apart from all that, are you happy living in the UK? Do you want to live somewhere else? Would you like to go back to the Caribbean or Africa?
I am happy living in London. However, I don't want to spend the rest of my life in London. I would love to live. I've only been to Morocco as far as Africa is concerned. So I need to get down to the dark side. But I've been to Jamaica about 10 times because my mother's Jamaican and she lives out there and what have you.
So what do you think of Jamaica? Would you live in Jamaica?
I would love to live in Jamaica. I actually love the island. I know that Jamaica is crime ridden, but then what country isn't crime ridden? You know, what country doesn't have its fair share of poverty? I know that Jamaica has abject poverty. But then you can say that about many countries in the world. But I love the island, you know. I mean, if I was to live in Jamaica, I'd probably live somewhere like, I don't know, somewhere busy because I'm a city girl and I like my amenities around me. So
you'd be talking about Kingston or...
Not so much Kingston. I'm not really a big fan of Kingston, actually.
Montego Bay.
Montego Bay is nice. What's the other place? Ochi.
St. Anne's.
Yeah,
I love
in
St.
Paris, St. Anne's, yeah. There's Falmouth as well, which is in Trelawney. There's Negril, which is in Westmoreland. So, you know, I know my parishes. But yeah, I mean, there's other places other than Kingston. But mind you, you've got a really nice place in Kingston called Port Royal. So if I could get a house there...
If you could afford a house
if I could afford it, then yeah, I'd live there. But you know, there are quite a few places you know, in Jamaica that I'd live. I'd even live where my mum's from because she's from Clarendon. So somewhere like, because she's from the countryside, so I'd probably live somewhere like Maypen because it has more.
It's very hot in Maypen though.
But I like the heat.
Oh.
I love the heat, you know.
Good for you.
Whenever I go to Jamaica, one of the things that I like doing is going to the gym, and I just like sweat buckets. But yeah, I don't fall. I'm hoping that, you know, I don't spend the rest of my life in this country. Don't get me wrong, you know, it's like I don't hate this country, but I hate the way it's run. I hate the way that, you know, we have a government in this country that is so infiltrated with racism. I hate the way that, you know, that people are hit with, you know, cost of living, austerity. You know, we have so many problems with the NHS in this country. People are struggling in this country, not to the same degree as, let's say, you know, other countries across the world. However, and that's primarily because we have a benefit system,
For now.
Yeah, for now, yeah. And, you know, we're lucky enough to have a free national health service for now. But, you know, at the same time, you know, we shouldn't be living in a country that has the 6th richest economy in the world and be talking about, you know, food banks. Although food banks, you know, do a service and
they're needing it more than ever now.
Well, this is it, you know, even people who you think, you know, are on big money, you know, like on a high wage, you think, oh, they're on a perfectly great wage, you know, they don't. You never know about people's financial circumstances.
Everyone's struggling now.
Yeah.
Even businesses, big businesses.
Exactly. You know.
Struggling.
I mean, the only good thing that this government's done is, in hindsight, is furlough. And I'm glad that people got that money because I don't really like seeing people who are able to work but not able to work because, you know, their place is closed down and they need money because bills don't stop because of furlough or COVID. You know, food buying doesn't stop. You know, looking after your children. I don't have children, but looking after your children if you have children doesn't stop. So yeah, but yeah, this government is infiltrated with racism, which is actually given carte blanche to the far right. So racism in this country, despite what people think, despite the fact that things have gotten better, it is on the rise and it continues to climb.
So what would you say to those people from Africa and the Caribbean who are rushing to come over here and to the US and the Western countries on a whole?
I would say for this country, we need you.
I'm surprised to hear that.
No, I mean, look, many people, if we go back to Brexit, a lot of people left because of Brexit, because they were being attacked. And ever since then, there's been shortfalls in quite a lot of industries. And those industries are constantly looking for staff, especially in the medical industry, i.e. the NHS. And those people who worked in the NHS that have now left, they were a benefit. And this is what I mean about immigration in this country is what this country is about. Immigration has made this country. We can go as recent as 1948 when the colonies, as they were called over to this country to rebuild this country after the war, because a lot of the soldiers had died, so therefore they needed to call upon their colonies to the colonies, the British subjects to come and rebuild this country. So this country has benefited from immigration, and anybody who moans and groans about it, well, shut up, because you benefit from immigration. You've been benefiting from immigration for all your life.
So what would you say about the clampdowns on immigration that they've started now?
Look, at the end of the day, what really annoys me about the government in this country is, the immigration that they're stopping, for the most part, are from people or by people with brown skin. Let's face facts, because the Ukrainians, and I have no problems with it, let them come over, let anybody come over. I don't care what colour you are, come over, because this country has been involved in lots of wars where they've actually torn countries down. They've partaken in a lot of wars where they could have actually said
unnecessarily.
Unnecessary wars where they could have said, look, we're not involved. But this country, for me, has a moral duty to house these people. And like I said, it's like the Ukrainians, they come over, everything's fine. They get free travel. They get I think they get like one journey for free travel.
They're getting more than you and you and me.
Well, look, at the end of the day, the way I see it is that if they're able to come over because they've got blonde hair and green eyes or blue eyes and they look like Europeans, well, what about the people whose countries that you've bombed? What about the wars in the countries that you've partaken in? And it's a basic right, and it's a humanitarian right. And I'm not saying take illegal immigrants in. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm take genuine people who are seeking refuge. I don't want to hear about, but France is on the way. There's many different reasons why they come to this country. Maybe they have ties, maybe it's the language, maybe it's the culture, maybe it's the climate. There's many different reasons. So, with regards to what I think about this government, I mean, this government is running as far as I'm concerned anyway, is doing this racist tactic thing, run by this government, headed by someone who is brown. Okay, a brown, a South Asian
and
heritage.
Kenyan heritage.
Yeah. So, how does that actually work? And I think that somebody like Rishi
Does it
Sunak,
matter?
would
That's the question. Does it really matter?
Well, that has got brown skin.
Well, yes.
Well, look, Rishi Sunak is going to make mistakes. And when he makes mistakes, the people that he's trying to appease, the people that this government is trying to appease, will get hit. And I will be there to laugh. Because you cannot turn around and say to me that, that you've got black and brown faces in high places, and they're looking, and they're, I'm not saying exclusively they should only look after their own, because they're running the country, and everybody should be looked after. Everybody should be treated the same. So, at the end of the day, it's like it makes, the fact that, we have somebody with brown skin, the first brown person that's been the Prime Minister of this country. It makes absolutely no difference.
No difference at all.
Who's a member of a party that's infiltrating racism. Yeah. So yeah, it makes no difference at all. As long as they continue to appease the right wing, which they're doing, especially because of immigration and Brexit, which I did not vote for, then they will keep doing what they're doing.
That's true. So, sidetracking again. You mentioned that your father's from Guyana.
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
Guyana, not Ghana.
Guyana, South America.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so do you have much ties with Guyana at all?
I think I've got relatives there actually. I think most of my relatives.
And have you ever visited Guyana?
No, that's something on my bucket list actually, to go there, and also Brazil as well, because it's one of the countries that borders Brazil. But yeah, I would love to visit Georgetown, where my father was from, and the Demerara region, and New Amsterdam, and just like do a proper in-depth tour of Guyana. And soak in the actual Guyanese culture in Guyana, as
Yeah, who
opposed
knows,
to
that could be an option for you as well.
yeah,
alongside Jamaica.
Yeah, because I mean, it's like Jamaica, because it's like it's not the only well-known island, but or Caribbean country, but it is the most recognized. It's the most mentioned. It's like the first country that people think of when they think of the West Indies is Jamaica.
That's true.
Unless, of course, your parents are from other countries, and that's the first country that you think of.
Right.
So yes, I would love to do that. I would, but as I say, I don't know if I've got any relatives. I probably have, but I don't know them, or I saw them when I was in primary school. But I think a lot of my Guyanese relatives are either in the States, Canada, or they're in this country.
What do you say about?
In actual fact, my cousin Desiree, I'm gonna ask her some questions actually about Guyana and where to go, because she's yeah.
So what do you say about the peoples coming from Guyana, Jamaica, other Caribbean countries, African countries, wanting to come here? Would you give them any advice?
I would say, okay, number one, be mindful that the climate is going to change. Because we don't get the greatest deal of sun, and when we do, we embrace it as much as we can. Number two, it is a culture shock in the sense that the West Indies, well, Jamaica anyway. I've done a Caribbean cruise. And this was nearly 5 years ago now, and I would say that the Caribbean is, depending on where you are, is relaxed. When I say depending on where you are, like if you're in a city, then it can be quite, maybe a little bit rushed. Not as rushed as London, but it might be very busy. But it's the Caribbean is very relaxed. Lots of sunshine. And I would say that it's a slightly easier life in the sense that
I'd say more than slightly. A lot.
I mean, it can be quite difficult because going to the Caribbean on holiday is different from living there. But yeah, I would say that it's maybe easier to find a job here.
It's easier to find a job here, but it's easier to get by in the Caribbean countries, Africa. I mean, you can grow your own food. You don't have to be dependent on getting a job.
Yeah, I mean, you can be a trawler person out in the Caribbean. Over here, that is a lot difficult because you have like many shops, selling what you're selling. So it's easy to be a trawler man or woman in the West Indies. Particularly in the
you don't have all the red tape if you want to be selling stuff on the roadside. I mean, you don't have to be getting this license or that paper. You know, you can just go out and do it.
Just do
you
your
know?
thing, really. So, you know, so if somebody is a trawler person living in anywhere in the Caribbean, then, you know, they may find that, you know, a bit of a shock to say, well, you know, it's not easy going into, you know, premises and trying to sell your bits and pieces. So there's that. But the thing about, you know, growing your own food is like, over here you can grow your own food, but it depends on.
Very limited.
Yeah, I mean, like if you're living in a city, for example, and you want to grow your own food, you need to either have a little share in an allotment, if you can actually find one, or you have to have your own garden. In the West Indies now, you can just, like, as long as you don't encroach upon other people's property, if there's a tree and it's a mango tree and it's out in the public, you can take what you want.
You don't have to go hungry.
Exactly. You could potentially have free food in the West Indies. As long as you don't climb over anybody's garden or climb over anybody's fence, then that's fine. You can do that. Not so much here.
Very difficult.
It is very difficult here.
And even if you do have a garden, it's
Yeah.
very little space.
It depends, and that depends on where you live as well. Also, you know, this country, I would say to them, particularly London, is very expensive. Things have increased in pricing over the last maybe 4 years now because of the COVID pandemic, or plandemic as some people call it.
We won't go there.
No, we won't. We won't. No.